Now that I've had some time to ponder, reflect, process, I can say with my full chest that getting into 911 and cramming 7.5 seasons into the span of like 2 months so that I would be caught up for season 8B, and then watching episodes week to week live, being fully involved in the fandom from 0 to 100. I'm talking Twitter, I'm talking TikTok, theories, discourse, leaks. Being up to the minute with news on the cast, on the crew, on what's happening on the set, on episode stills and behind the scenes, to watching and experiencing the last 2 episodes live. Seeing it with my own 2 eyes has been the most aggressively excruciating cases of emotional whiplash that I have ever experienced as a fan watching TV. And I've watched a lot of TV. What the hell have I put my brain and body through the last few months? Like, I'm being so serious right now. It all happened so fast. The hyperfixation took hold so fast that I was not prepared to lose a major character. In fact, I wasn't even fully aware of how attached I had become until he was taken away from me. Captain Bobby Nash, are you actually so for real right now? I have avoided making videos on this topic the last few weeks because I'm so devastated by the events that have just transpired that I'm afraid I'm gonna get on here and say some things I regret. Like, truly, I am having to filter myself to such a degree right now because if we're being honest, if I'm gonna be honest with you all, I'm still pursuing a career in Hollywood, and there are some things I wanna say that I just can't say, or I'm gonna get blacklisted. Do you feel me? The sheer amount of tears I have shed over Captain Robert Nash over the last 2 weeks is deeply concerning for the state of my mental health. I'm not a crier. I cry occasionally at TV, but in general, I don't cry a whole lot. I literally cried for 3 straight days after Contagion Part 2. That is not an exaggeration. I was in such a deep depression. I was experiencing such profound grief. It was like, am I good? And the answer is no. I'm surely not good. And unfortunately for me, look, the blessing of being able to experience so much joy in fictional worlds, in fandom, in these spaces, the downside of that is when bad shit happens, it is so over. Like, I shut down. Unfortunately, that is the curse. That is the dark side of being able to experience so much joy, is you experience profound levels of pain. And what the hell was that? Like, I don't need to go into all the things they did wrong, in my opinion, handling his death, because you all have talked about it. But genuinely, what was that? What are we doing in the name of realism? What are we doing? This is the most unrealistic show I've ever laid eyes on. And I've watched Supernatural. At least, though, that was true to the genre. What are we doing? Okay. It's so much more than losing a main character that the fandom unanimously loves, and the general audience, by the way. It's not just the fandom, it's the general audience as well. It's more than losing him, because it's witnessing an entire community of people. A fandom that doubles in size basically every week, right? New people are starting the show every day. This show is exploding in popularity, and it is watching a fandom so dedicated, so loving, collectively lose its faith and trust in the foundation of the story. That's so much more than losing a character. That disrupts the entire kind of sense of safety that everyone relied on in this show. I know it sounds dramatic, but that's what's happening, because his death doesn't just affect him and Athena. It affects every single member of the 118. Every single character in the show is going to be permanently changed by this decision. And if they don't permanently change them based off of this decision, then that's also bad writing. So it is kind of a lose-lose situation, because there is a before Bobby Nash and an after Bobby Nash. It will never be the same. And the way they went about it was so, and I'm just gonna say it, this is the one thing I'm gonna say really harshly, so fucked up and hurried and rushed and not well thought out, in my opinion, that now we can't trust anything else that happens from this point forward. You can't trust leaks. You can't trust interviews. You can't trust things that they promise. You can't trust the show that you have relied on for 8 seasons to stay consistent in certain areas, the roles have been completely thrown away. The tone is completely different. What you're tuning into week to week is now a different show, whether you like it or not. And seeing people collectively either immediately start processing that grief, which is hard, or double down into, and I say this lovingly, delusion, is equally as upsetting. Now, don't get me wrong. The delusion is not even delusion at this point. The amount of breadcrumbing, of hints, of parallels, of ways that they have purposefully misled the audience into thinking that potentially he is not dead is, I think, completely intentional, and I don't fault any of you for picking up on it and running with it. If that's what you have to do to put aside the grief for a few more weeks, Bobby Nash is alive max until the cows come home. I encourage it. Unfortunately for me, I was so devastated by his death and so taken aback by that moment that I made up in my mind then and there, I can't do this again. So I immediately started processing at that point. Now, I have come in and out of the Bobby Nash is alive theory here and there over the last few weeks. I haven't taken it fully very seriously because, again, if I let myself have hope in that way personally, I won't come back from it a second time. I was already about to quit the show and fully leave the fandom after Contagion Part 2. And I was like, if I do that again, it will be permanently over for me. And I do want to see if I can hold on a little bit more, if anything, to see what they do with Buddy. If anything, just to see if they are queer baiting us or if that's actually going to happen. And I knew if I go fully into the Bobby Nash is alive thing and they just double down and are like, no, he's dead, with all the breadcrumbing they've done and all the hints they've given and all the parallels they've made, and that's just them being mean-spirited, I swear to you, I will not come back. You will never hear me talk about 911 again. So I started to process this in a weird, sick way, and then I watched this last episode. And somehow the bar that was already in hell just keeps lowering. I mean, to start with the positives, Angela Bassett carrying the show on her back right now. A stunning performance. And absolutely, we should focus on Athena's grief. 1000%. That makes the most sense. She is basically one of the main leads of the show, okay? And she was Bobby's wife. So of course, we're gonna focus on her. I have no problems with that. I do have several issues, though, with the way that grief was handled in multiple other sets of characters. Every criticism that you've seen people talk about on 911, TikTok, or Twitter, I basically agree with. I'm gonna be honest. There's very few things I've read that I go, oh, no, I don't agree with that. I liked that. No, I agree with you all. So if you're thinking it, I probably agree with you. The lack of Eddie Diaz is making me feel crazy, actually. So we're gonna talk about that. I am still holding out hope that we are gonna get Buck's crash out, Buck's processing, Buck's handling of this situation in the last 2 episodes. I am holding out hope. My God, don't fuck that up too. But Eddie Diaz, the way his entire story is being handled off screen at this point. Guess what? If you're gonna put everything off screen, then guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start filling in the blanks. And whatever I fill in the blanks with is going to just be canon in my head. Unless you show it to me on screen, whatever I fill in the blanks with is what happened. Those are the rules now. Haha, sorry. So here's where I stand currently. I'm not as emotionally volatile as I was over the last 2 episodes. If you follow me on Twitter, you've seen my for real crash outs because I do not filter myself on there. But here's where I stand. I'm going to finish out this season because I'm a little bit of a completionist, and I've promised my friends I will finish out this season. I will watch the final 2 episodes. There's only 2 more to sit through. I am desperately, desperately hoping we get more Eddie, we get more Buck, we get more Buck and Eddie, we get some closure on that, and something. If Bobby Nash ends up being alive at the end of either of these episodes, I'm going to crash out with you all. I'm not holding out hope, though, because I can't do that. I cannot give up my hope like that again. Season 9 is a huge question mark for me. So if you see less 911 content from me moving forward, it's because I'm biting my tongue. And I'm trying to focus on other things that don't make me feel psychotic. So peace and love to everyone. Take care of yourselves.